Good evening. Today is Thursday, May 2nd, 2013. My name is Scott Spencer, and I speak on behalf of the Wolfpack. Who's the Wolfpack? The Wolfpack are the people that believe in the Constitution, smaller government, anti-banking the way it is because it's killing everybody, and we want to see reform. Look at the last gun bill, for example. They tried to pass this, smaller magazines, specific types of guns, mental health checks. Not everybody who has a mental issue, or how should I say that? Not everybody that is mentally ill has a mental issue. I mean, yeah, sure, you got the nutbags like this guy that went and shot up freaking Sandy Hook, and nobody knew that he was going to do that. And chances are that he got the gun illegally anyway. So how is a background check going to stop somebody that's mentally unstable from getting a gun? It's not going to. Smaller clips or smaller magazines, chances are that if he had a smaller magazine, he would have been able to change them faster and easier. I don't think it would have made much of a difference in how many people got killed. For the people of Sandy Hook, the children and the teachers and the principal that were killed, my heart goes out to them. But, disarming ourselves isn't going to help. I mean, if the teachers had been armed and trained to use the handguns, well, it doesn't take 5 minutes to start shooting back. Maybe that would have saved some lives if somebody else could have taken him out quicker. These gun bills, they don't make sense. What makes sense is that if they get their foot in the door to take a few types of weapons, a few types of magazines, well, then they've got their foot in the door. Later on, they can push their foot in further, and they can extend the bill to maybe make it so it's all rifles. Not just assault rifles, but all rifles. Then, no scopes. And then they're going to say, no, shotguns are bad too. A double-barrel shotgun, that packs a lot of a punch compared to a single barrel, and we're going to have to do something about those double barrels. Then it's going to be, oh, no, we got to do something about the regular shotguns too, because, it's still very powerful. And then it's going to be handguns, and the types of ammo that are in handguns. Well, they've already attacked the types of ammo. I mean, it's like, you and me, we can't go get hollow points, because those are considered ammunition that has stopping force. In other words, it will kill somebody, because when the round on impact, the point, it shatters, and then these little pieces of the round break off and corkscrew up through, and they mangle somebody inside. That's just the way the round works. It's meant to kill someone. You got the government buying up 500 million rounds of hollow points? For what? Who are they going to use these on? And it's not a matter of what are they going to use them on, it's who. And, they're looking to, they have things in place that a lot of people don't even know about. I saw this clip of a congressional hearing. It was some sort of monetary request for something to deal with the contingency of something for something, but basically the amount that they wanted was classified. The purpose was classified. The group in question that this contingency was going to be used on was classified. There was a mention of something about flesh-eating viruses and something about 80% of the population or more being killed, but it was classified. And it's like, so now this is on the floor, and Congress needs to vote on this to approve it, and it passed. I mean, what, your representatives are passing bills to give money to classified organizations within the government to perform classified operations that will possibly kill 80% of some classified population. I mean, how could anybody vote yes on this? And it passed. You think that your government really cares about you? Come on. And you got Obama. He's constantly saying, oh, all of these terrorists in the future, they're going to be homegrown terrorists. People who say that they believe in the Constitution, people who want to protect their gun rights, people who think that the government is out to get them, the conspiracy theorists, people like that, people like me, people like some of you. This thing with the Boston Marathon, again, my heart goes out to the people that were injured and killed, and the families of the victims of the people that were killed in that. But the guy they say they got in custody, well, I've seen some pictures floating around on the internet that show this kid, after the bombing, walking away with his backpack still on. They said there were two suspects. One of them was killed almost immediately. They chased him down and shot him dead. I don't know if that guy had a backpack or not when they shot him. This kid, the pictures show him walking away with a backpack. Well, if there were two bombs and two suspects, and one of the suspects is walking away with his backpack, where did the second bomb come from? Not to mention the idea that they had a bomb drill going on that day. There was a witness to that, that they had a bomb squad, going around, bomb sniffing dogs and everything at the starting line of the race. And they were making these loudspeaker announcements saying, don't be alarmed, don't pay attention to the people with the backpacks, blah, 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 schmackety, schmackety. And then, later on, it's like they tried to quiet this down, try to make it off like this guy's a nut. This guy was like some kind of a coach or something, a level-headed guy, teacher at a university, not some crackpot that just popped up out of the woodwork and said, oh no, they had bomb drill going on. The government is trying to deny that they had a bomb drill going on. Personally, I think that this was a false flag event, in which case they're trying, it was like a military operation that went horribly wrong. But for the most part, it was a success, because what they really wanted to do was declare martial law on the entire city of Boston while they chased down these two kids who were the patsies in this incident. It's like, they actually show one of these guys who looked, ironically, a lot like a Kraft employee. If you're not sure who Kraft is, you might want to look that up. It's paramilitary, private security. A lot of times they use Navy SEALs in their operations. You hear people in some of these other videos, and they're talking about, oh, the guy was wearing a Navy SEAL cap. It wasn't a Navy SEAL cap. It was a Kraft cap. That's Kraft's logo. That Punisher skull is Kraft. Anyway, the thing is that, I'm not even sure if Kraft was behind it, but I don't think it was those Arab kids either, or Chechen kids, or whatever you want to call them. I don't think it was them either. And I think that if you could trace the trail back far enough, it would lead right back to D.C. These people in D.C., all they care about is money and power and how to get more of it. And if they have to trample your rights, make your rights illegal, shred the Constitution in the process, then that is what they will do. It's no longer a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. You go in and it's like you're either a Republican or you're a Democrat. I think there might be one or two independents in there right now, which is actually a good thing, because if you go in as a Democrat, they expect you to side with whatever the Democratic agenda is. If you go in as a Republican, they expect you to side with whatever the Republican agenda is and vote on Republican bills and vote on Democratic bills. Now, an independent, when they go in, the independent goes in thinking that he's for the people. He's representing the people. He's going to vote on things as he thinks are going to be good for the people. And if it's a Democratic agenda or a Republican agenda, it doesn't matter. He doesn't have to vote one way or the other because he's not in the little gang of Republicans or Democrats. He doesn't have to side with them. Of course, that's, I don't know, it's kind of like being an outsider in high school, you don't know anybody and nobody wants to hang out with you because you're different. That's that lonely spot that the independent in Washington, D.C. stands in. Nobody wants to hang out with them because they're not one of them. They don't fit in. They're the outsider looking in. But they do get to vote on those bills and vote against those bills, whatever the case may be. You look at when this last gun bill that they tried to push failed. Dianne Feinstein, she was highly upset about that. She went off and went upon figuring out that this bill wasn't going to pass, and she scolded the congressional floor like they were a bunch of 6-year-olds, that she was so disappointed in them that they couldn't come to a collectively agreeable decision. Well, face it, Dianne, your bill didn't pass, and I'm glad it didn't pass, because that means you didn't get to infringe on our Second Amendment rights, which you guys have been infringing on for years. They just been nickel and diming away at it, this type of gun, that type of gun, this type of ammo, that type of ammo, this kind of scope, this kind of rifle, it's basically, they're not going to be happy until they have every one of our guns. And then, what I think is going to happen, what I really think is going to happen, remember that contingency plan? The 75 or 80% classified one that they voted for? I'm sure some of you might have seen these videos of camps that are already in place. They look a lot like the internment camps that they put the Japanese Americans during World War II. Except, I think that they're going to be like those Japanese internment camps with a twist. They're going to have like a gas chamber or an incinerator or electric chair or something somewhere on site. And they're just going to exterminate us. Anybody, excuse me, anybody that doesn't fit in with what the government thinks is being an ideal citizen. If you believe in the Constitution, if you're pro-gun, if you're pro-First Amendment, if you're a patriot, if you're a veteran, if you have mental issues, those would be the first people that they march down the death camp channel. And then they'll go on to, they'll go on to the people that they might consider undesirable to society. Elderly, okay, they can't work anymore. They're infirm. They're losing their memory due to like Alzheimer's or something like that. It's like people that, well, if they kill off these people, well, that's more money that the government gets to keep, because then they don't have to pay out Social Security. Retirees, whether they're sound mind or not, whether they're still physically active or not. People that have mental issues, and I don't know if they'll even specify what kind of mental issues. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be that you're psychotic. It could be people that are schizophrenic, paranoid, people like me that are bipolar. It's like I'm not a harm to anybody but myself. However, the thing is that I'm still a harm to myself, because I get incredibly depressed. I mean, and I can't help that. I take medicine for it, just so that I get, on days where things feel really rough, I just can't even, I don't even want to get out of bed. Okay, I mean, it's that kind of depression. It doesn't mean that I'm going to go out and grab an AR-15 or a freaking M16 or anything else and shoot up a yard full of school kids. I mean, that's stupid. And, I mean, in reality, I don't even know how these guys that do it even come to the conclusion that they should. Me personally, I wouldn't take a life unless I absolutely had to, and it would have to be in defense of myself or someone else that I knew, loved, or cared about. And then, even then, I'm not even sure if I can pull the trigger. I mean, it's I don't want to say that I don't have a killer instinct, because I'm sure that if I had to dredge down into my gut far enough, I could find the intestinal fortitude to kill somebody. But it doesn't mean that I would like it. It doesn't mean that I would enjoy it. It doesn't mean that I would feel like that anything was better as a result of it. So I don't know where these guys that have the mental issues and do go out and do it, I don't know where they get out from it. But on the same token, it's like they're sitting there and they're attacking people with mental issues that they can't go and buy guns now. My dad is acutely paranoid, schizophrenic. He has owned guns my whole life. There have been times where if he didn't hunt, we would not have ate. All he ever did with his gun was put food on the table. And somehow now, he's no better than a criminal, no better than a convicted felon. He can't buy a gun. I mean, at what point in time did having, did being emotionally disturbed become a felony befitting that someone be stripped of their second constitutional amendment right. I want to see the legislation on that, where it's a felony to have a mental illness. I want to see the legislation that says, quote, it is a felony and a crime to have a mental illness, unquote. There is no legislation like that. Because it's stupid. I mean, it's like, you get somebody's bipolar, that doesn't mean they're going to go out and kill somebody. Somebody's paranoid schizophrenic, that doesn't mean they're going to go out and kill somebody. These guys that did these mass shootings, you realize that in the grand scope of things, statistically speaking, they're like 1% or less of the number of shooters that are involved in all of the reported gun violence in the United States in a year. I mean, like I said, they shot up a lot of people, not just one or two people. So, it gets rated as a mass killing. And, I mean, if you were to look at the percentage of gun violence-related deaths as opposed to gun-related crimes, well, then they might jump up to 2 or 3% of the number of deaths. But still, that's only 2 or 3% per year. They're going to sit there and make them out to be like the worst possible thing, and anybody with a mental illness can't have a gun because 2 or 3 people a year lose their minds and go out and shoot a few people. I'm not saying that I'm okay with somebody going out and shooting a few people, not at all. I mean, every time that happens, that's tragic, and I weep inside for the victims and for their families, for their loss. However, that doesn't mean that they should do that. I mean, okay, let's look at some more statistics. Let's pick on white people, because everybody picks on blacks and Hispanics, okay? So we're going to pick on white people. Let's say that every single one of these mass shootings was committed by a white person. Wait a minute. They were all white. Okay, so does that mean that all white people shouldn't own guns now? Okay. 95% of the gun crimes that are committed by ethnicities that are other than white. Okay, so does that mean that we should punish all of those ethnicities and say that they have a possibility of going out and committing a gun crime, so they shouldn't have guns either? That's stupid. It's all stupid. Truth of the matter is that there's all of these gun crimes in general. Let's take the gun crimes out of the picture here completely. Let's just not even focus on gun crimes right now. Okay, so we're just going to take that and we're going to move it over to the side. Okay. Statistically speaking, there are more honest, hard-working blacks, Hispanics, Asians, whites, Indians, Arabs, whatever, than there are criminals. It's just that the mainstream media, every time there's a crime and it's a black guy, it's like, oh, it was a black guy that did it, it's the common, normal American citizen is not the one trying to keep racism alive. It's the media. It's the government. And, it's not even really about racism. It's about classism. It's not. It's just that if they can keep everybody's focus on races, You know, keep the whites hating the blacks, keep the blacks hating the whites, keep the Asians hating whoever, and so forth and so on, and keep them with their focus on each other, then they don't see what the government is doing over on the other side. So, while we all bicker amongst ourselves because, you know, I'm this color and you're that color or whatever, I mean, honestly, I don't have a problem with anybody regardless of what color they are. You know, it's like, I don't judge you for your skin, I judge you for your actions. And I don't judge you for the actions of others of your ethnicity. I'm going to judge you personally. I'm going to hold you accountable. And that's the way it should be. You know, because your skin color don't mean a thing. We all bleed red. Unless you're a politician, in which case you bleed green. You know, I mean, they lace their pockets with so much goddamn money, it ain't fucking funny. And that's how it is. And while we're busy fighting amongst ourselves, they're over there shredding the Bill of Rights, taking all of our rights away. But we're too focused on each other to see what the government is doing. And the government wants it that way. They don't want you to see what's really going on. And anybody who says that anybody that touches close to figuring out what's going on, they vanish. And it's been that way for God knows how long. It's like, you know what's going on, you're going to expose them. Oh no, we can't have anybody doing that. Make them disappear. Nobody ever found Jimmy Hoffa's body. And they ain't gonna find you either. That's just how it is. Now, I said wolf pack. What is a wolf pack? And then I kind of left it at that. But there's another side of it. If you're not a wolf, you're a sheep. What's a sheep? A sheep are the ones who think that giving up all of their sovereignty to the government because the government will take care of them is the right thing to do. It is not the right thing to do. You should always question the government. You should question authority. You should ask questions, demand answers. They do owe you an answer. They represent you. They're not there to represent themselves. They're supposed to be representing you. They are accountable. Anybody that says that you don't have the right to demand to know what's going on is wrong. You pay their salary. You are their boss. You are supposed to be in control. You are not supposed to give up your sovereignty to the government. And if you do, you get whatever's coming to you. And so do the rest of us if you outnumber us. The sheep are the ones that are asleep. They're not awake. They don't see what's going on. They don't ask questions. They don't want to know. They're scared to know. They can't possibly fathom that our government might do shady things, even killing your fellow Americans to further their own agenda. I mean, if you totally believe that the government can't possibly do that, you're a fool. They can do that. They do that. They do it every day. You just don't know about it. Because the mainstream media, the CIA puppets, tell you what they want you to hear. And, I mean, there is no integrity in reporting if you're a big corporate freaking televised conglomerate mainstream media organization. There is no honesty or ethics in reporting. They tell you what the government tells them that you need to know. And they don't tell you any more, and they don't ask questions themselves. Because, well, God forbid if an investigative journalist actually did some investigating, it would disappear too. And they know it, and they're scared of that. And that's why they don't tell you the truth. Even if they know the truth, they don't tell anybody that they know the truth. And they won't tell you the truth. You know, it's like, you know, it's not conspiracy theory. There is a conspiracy. It's happening. It's on the table. And just because you call me a conspiracy theory nut doesn't change the fact. Just because I can't prove it doesn't change the fact. I will say it right now. I fear our government, which means our government is tyrannical. When the people fear a government, there is tyranny. When the government fears the people, there is liberty. Thomas Jefferson. If you're not afraid of the government, it doesn't necessarily mean that there isn't any tyranny. If any one person is afraid of the government, there's tyranny, at least to them. And there's more than one person out here who is afraid of the government. They're afraid of what the government can do. They're afraid of what the government will do. They're afraid of what they think the government will do. Now, these are just my opinions. I mean, but, you know, I have the right to speak them. You know, I'm not being overly, how do I want to say it? I'm not being overly abusive towards anybody. I'm not trying to step on anybody's rights. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm not telling you how to think. I'm just asking you to try to think. Think about it. Question things. Question authority. Question the government. Demand answers. Question their motivations. Question everybody's motivations, especially your own. Because if your motivation is to question my motivations, and that's your only motivation, well, let me tell you what my motivation is. My motivation is to make you question everyone's motivations, because I question everyone around me. I question their motivations. I question what they're up to. How is what they're going to do? How is that going to affect me? Because in the end, I think that's all most of us really care about. You know, I mean, we see things happen. You know, oh, you know, there was a shooting in L.A. Okay, well, that doesn't have anything to do with me. I'm over here in New York. Okay. Somebody else in LA, they're going to care how that affects them, though. They should be questioning what's going on around them. You know, and I mean, when you take it to the federal government, you're taking it on a nationwide level. You know, the government is supposed to be there for everybody. So if they're not doing everything on the up and up, and they're not actually working in our favor, we need to question what their motivations are. All of these things, these classified this and classified that. Declassify it. We want to know what the hell's going on. Why do you have to hide it from us? I mean, if there's a, I've heard the argument, like, if there's a comet coming, and it's gonna make impact in 3 years, and it's gonna be like an ELE, which is an extinction level event. Okay, if there's, why tell the public? It's just gonna cause mass uproar. What? Don't you think that people have the right to know that they're gonna die? Come to grips with it, get right with God, call up their dad that they're estranged from and tell them that they love them, or that they really care, make peace. I mean, do they really think that everybody's really going to panic? I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, they might demand from the government to send somebody out on a shuttle and do like I don't know what that movie was, but the one where they sent people out on a space shuttle and they go and blow up the asteroid. Okay, I think that's a reasonable request if we have the technology to do that, to expect the government to try to do that. But I think the whole mass hysteria thing, I think the government thinks that we aren't capable of being rational enough to handle the truth. They think that we can't handle the truth. That's what it comes down to. I can handle the truth. I may not like the truth, and I can't say how I'm going to respond to the truth, but at least if I know the truth, then I know what's going on. And I can make an educated decision from there. But if you don't tell me what's going on, if you keep me like a mushroom, and you keep me in the dark and feed me lots of bullshit, that's just going to piss me off worse if I find out what's going on later. And that's just going to make me resent you even more, if I don't resent you already. And, I mean, the past several presidents that have been elected into office, some of them I have voted for, some of them I have not. But every single time a president has gone into office that I did vote for, I regretted it. The sad part of that is that if I had voted for the other guy, and if they got in office, I probably would have regretted that too. It's like, yeah, everybody says, oh, we're in a basket of shit because the president's black. We're in a basket of shit because Obama got reelected. I mean, how many people honestly think that had Romney been elected, that the world or that the country would be any better off? I mean, they're still telling us who we're going to have in office. They're not giving us a choice. It's always a Republican or a Democrat. And they serve the same master. Money. Money and power. And, I mean, let's talk about Romney for a second, okay? Romney, this is the guy who, his campaign was that he was going to put America back on its feet. He was going to make sure everybody went back to work. Do you really believe that from the guy who exported his own personally held businesses overseas? He didn't give a rat's ass about putting people back to work. All he cared about was getting into office, and he was going to use whatever he thought was the people's greatest fear, which is a continuing drought in jobs and available jobs. And I mean, there's a lot of us who, I mean, it's like, there's a lot of people out there that they're just not trained to do certain things, and they would love to be working at something that they were trained at. There's a lot of people out there holding college degrees right now that aren't working in the jobs that they hold a degree for, because jobs are that scarce. It's like nobody is making jobs available, because companies keep going overseas. Because it's cheaper to hire a kid in a sweatshop in China for 5 cents an hour than it is to pay some skilled craftsman that belongs to a union here 25 bucks an hour to do the same thing. You know, it's like when unions first came along, they were a good thing. You know, they improved conditions in the workplace. They improved the income for people. They improved their work hours. You know, gave these people time to rest and refresh, so to speak. They took kids out of dangerous workplaces. And then they got greedy. Most unions right now exist for the sake of the union, to collect their dues, whether they do anything for the workers that they're supposed to represent or not. Unions now are a bad thing, for the most part. There's a few good ones, but not many. Most of them are looking to just make a buck. I mean, that's their job. Their job isn't to work in the factory. Their job is to represent the factory workers and collect dues, and they get their money from the dues. I mean, yeah, sure, you got shop steward and things like that, but somebody, they answer to somebody. Somebody that doesn't work in the factory. Somebody is a leech. It's just like banking. You know, I mean, what tangible product do banks manufacture that you can eat or wear or consume in some way? And money isn't even tangible. It's just a piece of paper supposedly backed by a chunk of gold someplace. And a lot of times the American dollar isn't even worth as much as the euro or the yen. Canadian money is usually worth more than American money anymore. I remember back in the 70s and 80s when it was like my grandparents would go to Canada, and when they came back and they would have Canadian currency, and they would give me and my brother some of that Canadian currency, and then I would take like a $5 bill from Canada down to the bank and trade it for American money, and it would be worth like 76 cents on the dollar, which means that I was only getting like $4. You know, I mean, and then all of a sudden now it's like you go up to Canada with an American dollar and it's worth like 76 cents to Canadians. It's reversed. And it's because we have no gross national product. We have nothing to make our dollar worth anything. And jobs keep leaving. And that's not good. I mean, you know, it's like you take the money, you take our ability to make money, you ship it overseas, or you ship the manufacturing process overseas, you pay somebody over there less to make it, then you ship it back, and then you sell it for more than what you were selling it to us for when Americans were making it, but you took away our ability to earn the money to buy it in the first place. That's another one of the problems in this country, and it's not going to stop. Because the banks, they're only there gambling and making a buck off your money too. You know, and it's not even your money. Everybody thinks that they got money in their pocket, but you know, the government can take it at any time, and there ain't a damn thing you can do about it. You know, all they have to do is like call off the Federal Reserve System and say, well, it no longer works. Every dollar in your pocket just became worthless. So, they can't take your money? Yeah, they can. It's sad, but this is the world that we live in, and we still have the power to change that, but people need to man up and stand up and exert their rights and demand answers, demand progress. Gun laws that hurt honest people more. Gun laws that hurt law-abiding citizens but don't hurt criminals at all. That is not progress. That's like taking somebody that owes child support, has to commute 90 miles a day to work, and then taking their driver's license away, thus effectively taking away their ability to earn money. But that's government thinking. That's how the federal government thinks. You know, it's take and take and take, grab, 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 gimme, 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 and they don't give nothing back. And they want us all existing on social programs. You know, they're not going to be happy until we're all depending on the government just to even eat. You know, they actually pay farmers sometimes not to grow food. You know, it's like, because of whatever the reason is. You know what they ought to do with that? They ought to pay the farmers to grow the food, and then take the food and send it to like China or someplace where they don't have a lot of food, and ask China if that's acceptable as a monetary value towards our deficit to them, rather than mortgaging out half of the land in America to the Chinese in exchange for the fact that we don't have any money to give them. You know, there's a lot of alternative methods and ideas that they could actually look at or even consider doing, but they don't do them because it's too much like right. Well, you know, I'm going on here, almost 50 minutes now, so yeah, my idea is I'm just stopping for now. That's my rant for today. My name's Scott Spencer, Wolfpack, and signing off. And remember, if you're not a wolf, you're one of the sheep.